Hi, I'm Summer McStravick, and welcome to Money Intuition, where we get to explore the minds and thinking of some really successful women who've used both their intuition and their know-how to create sustainable, financially abundant, and self-created lives. My favorite. My guest today, right there, is Shanda Sumpter, and she has her own company called Hardcore Business, which she built from scratch. And what she does is she teaches people how to create their own business, but also how to create a life with a business in it. That's the easiest way I can put it all together. She'll tell you all about it. But it's the way that she teaches that I think is so different and why I wanted her to come on and share with all of us. She teaches you how to build something that connects to your heart. And she teaches you that it's not just a need to make a living, but you want to be truly expressive of your values and your genius while you make a living and while you build a business. So she really brings it all together. She's also a mentor of mine and a friend. So, of course, I'm happy to have you here, Shanda.
It's great to be here, Summer. We've come full circle from so many years ago.
How funny. I think you first interviewed me a long time ago.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, okay. People who say summits are no good anymore, I would like to say that great friendships, great business, great connections come out of doing this business model.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, here we are, and I have a big lead up to my first question for you. Because I know you work with all different tiers of people at all different levels of business, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs, and they're just starting out, and you know, terribly new at it all and scared to pieces, but excited. You also work with, you know, very established people, big business owners. And I have this feeling that at each level of development that you're working with somebody, you see common tendencies and common fears that people have around money or about being self-employed. It's sort of at each strata. And I'm really curious what those fears are that hold people at their particular level, like if you were to overall say generally. So if you start with like a new entrepreneur, for instance, what are the fears that are generally holding them at their level of not beginning or not being comfortable or
trusting themselves, trusting that they'll actually work? I think the only difference between, I'm just going to go from startup to millions. The only difference between startup to millions is startup still has to figure out, will this really work? They're typically trying to map it all out in their head first, which is not how any business gets done.
Right.
Any map you create, you've got to learn to be flexible because it's never going to take that course that you think that just makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But it's really trusting yourself at the beginning, and then at the top, or over a million, the common thread is that all the shit that came up down here comes up again when you go to grow.
Yeah.
But you're better at problem solving.
Okay.
So you can move through it quicker up here, where when you're starting, the control factor is so much stronger.
Yeah.
Where as you grow, you realize that you have to continuously let go of control to expand. Like I was talking to a woman about this today in the retail world. Your capacity to hold more has to grow. And I don't care who you are. When you're growing that capacity to grow, like to hold more, it hurts. Like you want to just kind of control it where it's at because you're comfortable and you know how to deal with life here. And so, you know, the difference between me when I was there, me when I'm here, and my clients when they were there, or clients that I just see over here, is the fact that the same shit just keeps coming up, but you just problem solve through it faster and you have more faith and trust in yourself up here because you've done it, right? But it still comes up. I mean,
so it's,
it might be, I'm afraid to hire a coach or, you know, which is the best. Up here you realize even 300,000, 200,000, you start to realize that's the best investment I could ever make, is to have somebody that I paid to be my consultant, right? Like you couldn't get a better investment. But at first that investment is really hard. Unless you learn how to problem solve through, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, it's not the right time to do this now, or I don't have a supportive partner, or I've invested in the past and I fell on my face so my husband or my wife won't allow me to invest again. Unless you figure out a way to problem solve through it at this small level, then you don't, I hate to say it, but you actually don't deserve to be up here. And you know how that there's a deserve level that you always get what you feel like you deserve. Well, you naturally feel like you deserve more. You don't have to go meditate yourself into feeling like you deserve more. Just actually do it, right? As you problem solve, you will feel naturally like you deserve more because you do. And you trust yourself more. Mm-hmm. When you get up here, instead of the investment being the investment in a coach, you already have that going on. That's already a tool belt that's never going away, right? But now it's like a $200,000 event. Yeah. Or it's, you know, buying a $3 million home. Mm-hmm. Or your desire, your capacity to dream gets bigger. And when your capacity to dream gets bigger, those fears are still there. Yeah. And you may shut down and get fearful and get scared and even get defensive and put up your walls, but you have the ability to take those walls down a lot quicker than you did at the beginning. So I believe that the trek of money intuition, money flow, all of that is to really get that you're delivered these challenges to work through, that they're not real. And I know that's easier said than done, but if you can get above that for a second and hear me, that problem is put in your space to solve, not to stop you. Yeah. And if you won't take the time to get intimate with that challenge and solve it, and if you can gamify it, it's even better. Meaning that if you can play a game with yourself and not make it so serious, you open up. And when you can open up, you have the capacity to access ideas that you don't have the capacity to access when you're down here. Right. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you want $1 million, you want $100,000, you just want $50,000, or you just want enough money to buy a new car, you know, whatever it is that's next, then it's up for you. You can't get there by not solving the problems in your space. You have to solve them because you cannot bring that in. You know, it's like I can't tell you how many people I've met that can feel the new stuff coming in. I can feel a shift. But then they won't stretch themselves through the door that they're like, oh God, you know, like they won't go through that door, and they stop at that door, right? They stop at that limitation. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that feeling will go away, that you feel that thing coming in that you want. It'll go away because it's like, I always think of Alison Armstrong teaching me how men have to win in a relationship, and if they can't win, they'll stop trying. Mm-hmm. That thing that you want will stop trying to get to you. And then you lose that loving feeling. It's gone, right? Right. Well, that's because you didn't step through the problem that was preventing it from coming in. And you know what that problem is. You know it's painful. Yeah. You know it's stopping you, right? So it's not an emotional thing. It's actually the emotion is what's causing you to stop. It's stopping you from taking the action. Yeah. Does that make sense, Summer?
Oh, yeah. It's making me think how, you know, when I work with people, they're generally falling into two groups. They don't know what their block is. They don't know what's stopping them from doing it, and they've got to find out. Or they know exactly what's stopping them. They just fail to do anything about it except keep repeating it and talking about it. And it's like I just want to hit them and say, well, I don't hit them, but I want to hit them. And say, well, now you know what it is. When are you going to do something? And it's like, oh, you're right. I've known for 3 years what's going on. I just failed to ever figure out what to do. So, I hear that.
People who don't know what's blocking them, that is an intimacy issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, if you look at marketing, you look at relationships, you look at friendships, you look at business partners, you look at all of that. Obviously, I work with entrepreneurs. Yeah. I think so often we want to get to the destination, but we don't realize that it's all this juiciness of the things that we need to solve in our love life and in our bodies and, you know, in our businesses. And it's all these limitations that are actually the things that, you know, heal us, if that's your language, right?
Yeah.
That's not my language, right? So my language is, you know, my personality is just, you know, I don't think about healing because I don't feel like there's anything to be healed. I think there's stuff to be released. Mm-hmm. But I get that everybody has a different perception on it. Mm-hmm. Whatever your perception is, you're right. But you can't get to where you want to go unless you work with that stuff. And I think psychotherapists are going to hate me for this, but I think like psychotherapy and stuff like that, I can't tell you how many of those people I get as clients because they're tired of sitting in the shit with people and they never move out of it.
Yeah.
I believe there is a level of power in getting clarity around what's stopping you, right? Mm-hmm. What's holding you back. Everything goes back to mom and dad. It just does. But if you really are spiritual and you get it, you were given your mom and your dad to work through something. Right? So instead of it being this reason why you can't have a great relationship or this reason why you can't make money because your parents were broke or whatever, you know what I mean? Like instead of it being the reason why you can't, you're not getting it. Like you're missing the whole purpose of your life, which is about self-realization. You can't do it alone. You can't build a business alone. You can't become spiritually aware alone. You need to interact with other people. I think building a business is one of the best transformational learning skills that I've ever encountered. And same with your love life, right? And same with your mom and your dad. It's like working your way back through solving those problems instead of saying, my mom and I just don't get along, or I don't get to make money because, like I just spoke to somebody who, one of the skills I teach that make you a lot of money is making a decision very, very fast. And she said, wow, that's been part of my personality for a long time. I don't want to make that decision anymore because it hasn't worked in the past. So I said, that's not the part you need to tweak. You see what I'm saying? Like the formula to making money, the part she's tweaking is the part that's actually working, which is making the decision fast.
Right.
Something else isn't working. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's either her follow through, her sales conversation, she doesn't have a list. Something else isn't working. It's like I see people plug in, like, I don't want to go too far off track, but it's like if you want to make money and you buy a Facebook marketing program, but yet you don't have a list right now. Well, the Facebook marketing program is going to cost you a lot of money. So is sponsorship. So is, speaking from a stage. All those things cost you a lot of money. Right? Where building a database and building a list that is yours that grows with you all the time is part of the beginning of a formula of making money, whether you're Zappos Shoes or you're an internet marketing company or you're a technology company or you're a coach like us. Building the list to 5,000 people minimum is the tipping point to multiple six figures. That's the first thing anybody should be doing, not trying to make their brand look great or their website look pretty. Half the time we don't send anybody to our website and I'm over a 7-figure business, right?
Yeah.
People just try and I'm now working on my website. I just branded, 7 figures and I just branded. I should have probably branded about 300,000, but I didn't, right? But most people are trying to put that branding at the very beginning. So here's what I want you to hear about what I'm saying. Don't tweak the parts of your personality that are working. Making a decision fast is working. Figure out what the real limiting belief is, what the real breakdown in the solution to you getting what you want is, and I'll tell you that it's where you don't want to go. It's what you're saying I don't want to do.
I know, I don't like it when you say that.
But that's it.
But it's true, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, because it's where your fears are. It's the place you've constantly been shutting down because it's something you've never wanted to tackle. So if you're looking at a problem that's constantly been with you, well, clearly it's where you haven't wanted to tackle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I in our PACE Club, I teach list building in the first 90 days, right? And this is crazy. Yeah. So I teach list building. There's all this resistance on the list build. And then everybody knows how to list build and has a list after 90 days, right? Yeah. Well, guess what the next thing we go into is sales. Guess what they want to go into? Another list build. Because now it's in their comfort zone. They don't want to do the sales part. So to give you a peek into my world, and stop me if you want me to stop. Do you want me to stop? Do you have...
Oh, no. Keep on going. Just okay, I want to clarify for people who don't know what a list is or a list build, email list. How many people that you have coming to your website that you're gathering their names so you can keep getting in contact with them over and over again with your product or service or idea, whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. Thank you. So the area that I avoided the most was sales. And the funny thing is we're so known for it now, my company, right? And so I used to avoid any sort of conversations that could possibly end up in a no. because what that meant was I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everybody has that version of that story. That story never goes away from me. That I'm not good enough comes up in lots of different places in my life. It comes up in triathlons. It comes up in my relationship. It comes up when I'm stretching in my business. It comes up when I have a friend that's disappointed in me. It just comes up. And that is my trigger that tells me I'm growing. Right? So it used to be a bad thing. Now it's like, oh, I'm growing. So that's why this is coming up. Yeah. So what do I need to solve so that I feel good enough, right? And that becomes my point of focus, right? But if you don't look at that way, you'll avoid the thing you need to do in order to get what you want, which is really the self-realization. Yeah. So sales was a big deal for me, and I used to avoid it like the plague. I had to get good at it to make money, because as a CEO of your business, up until your first 7 figures, your first million, sales has to be your number one job. Right. It's not even coaching for me or anything like that. The number one thing on my plate that needs to be consistent is sales. And so you do become very good at it up to your first million. You just do. After a million, the game changes a bit, and it doesn't become your number one priority, because that part of the formula is taken care of, right? So I learned it. And then what I did was I stood in the fire with 2 of my people that work for me. One of them, it took me over a year, about a year and 2-3 months to teach them how to sell. And now they have like an 80% close ratio, which is awesome. And then another one that it only took me 2 months to work with. So why am I sharing this with you? If I wouldn't have taken on my own transformation, and instead of made it about, I'm not good at sales, and I see people do this all the time. They're going to try and hire a sales team to sell their stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that strategy never works. I'm saying you have to grow your capacity to hold more and deserve more before that strategy is even going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I would have went and invested in an infomercial, which I did like try and get into before I was ready, I would have really fallen on my face. Obviously, that wasn't part of my equation. There were other things that were part of my equation that fell on my face. And everybody knows their version of this, right? If I would have said every time I got hurt that I'm not going to do this again, I wouldn't be standing in the place I am today. Yeah. You know, so it's a very different game.
Yes, agreed. When I'm thinking about people who are running away from their fear, running away from sales, running away from the part of what they want to do and love, but they don't want to do that part of it, I see people try and compensate in another area. They try to get really good at what they do first, because then they'll feel secure enough to do the other thing. Or they'll get their website perfect first. Or, you know, and they'll just go into
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's as a way of sort of, you know, building yourself up to...
But all you're doing is you're conditioning yourself to live in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's not where life is.
Yeah.
That's where what you have is, which is fine. But tell me somebody living in their comfort zone, and I'll show you somebody depressed, angry, bored, and tearing apart their life in other areas.
Yeah.
We are creators. We're the DNA of God, or intelligence, or whatever you want to call it. We have to create. And when you get lazy or fearful and you don't push yourself out of your comfort zone, or you try and make decisions based on trying to be more comfortable, like somebody will say, I'm going to go get 2 clients to be able to hire you. No, make the commitment first, then go get 2 clients. People just don't get that. And I don't care if you're working with me or you're working with you or you're working with whoever. You're buying a house, you're buying a car. And I can already hear people in the ethers right now. I've done that before and I went bankrupt, or I lost my house. Yeah, but you didn't do what it took. And that's the piece of the equation you need to work on.
Because that's a self-valuing thing. That's well, of course I'm not going to be able to pull this off. Of course I'm going to fail with this. And that makes me think it goes back to the intimacy issue that you talked about. And I've been seeing a lot of this in the interviews. There is a kind of intimacy, not just with yourself and your sense of self-worth and I deserve this, but with money as well. You've got to be comfortable with it. You've got to feel kind-hearted toward it, like it's not bad for you to have. If you have more of it, you'll do more good things with it.
Yeah,
it's like a whole bunch of stuff becomes unraveled in your mind.
let me ask you a question. What's the first thing, and everybody watching right now, what's the first thing that you think of when I say to you, there's this really rich woman that lives next to me, and I want you to meet her? And notice what comes up in your head. Did you judge her? Were you excited? Did you say, oh, she must be stuffy? I mean, the first picture that comes in my head is somebody going to the Kentucky Derby with a big hat and flowers. Like, you know, like whether you're visual or whatever that is, it's like, or when I say the word rich, what's the next word that comes up? You know, and stuffy comes up.
A lot of negative associations come up for most people. Because you're taught to want it and envy it and despise it all together. Which translates right out into the rest of the way you're playing your life and why you're staying in a comfort zone of having exactly what you have now. It
absolutely does. But it's like, you know, Debbie Ford taught me something before she passed. And she said, I love money. And she's like, and I spend money probably irresponsibly, but I love it and I spend it and I live my life. And she really did live her life, right? And she goes, and I also know that I'm a bit of a bitch, is what she said. And I was like, and I learned so much from her at this point when we're having dinner in La Jolla. And what I got from her is she was okay with, you know, her shadow, as she taught, right? Yeah. I don't think of it like a shadow, but it's like, I know that if I run a schedule that I work nonstop, that I become a bitch, right? And so I've problem solved my business and my life, unless I'm doing an event or something like that. And when I am, I ask everybody to just give me space, right? And because I know what I need and I ask for it. It doesn't mean everybody's going to give you what you need, but you've got to learn how to ask for it, which is a self-worth thing. But it's also, don't run your life that puts you into a state of being a bitch all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, problem solve it and be okay with that part of you. You know what I mean? Like, I get that I have got that impatience and I've got a thing with time. And when the doors are closing in on me, I tend to get, like, I push everything away. And so I'm going through that now that I have a relationship, going back and forth to Corona Del Mar and San Diego. And he's going through that too. And it's like, it's an opportunity to grow. And so we obviously can't problem shoot not doing it. So we've got to problem shoot a way through it. Yeah. And so I think people forget that these limitations and these challenges are here to help you. And I think so often we run away from them and it's like a turtle in its shell. But then you're miserable. Yeah. Because you're not getting what you want, and you can't, because you can't, everything you want is in your comfort zone that you have right now, which is a beautiful life, but you can't stay there because you can only wear the same pair of pants a few times, and you can only drive the same car before it gets old, and you can only, you know what I mean? You've got to expand. I even think that in relationships. I mean, make love to the same person for a long period of time. You better find a way to expand that relationship bigger than just that life, right? So the limitations in the problem solving, show me a great business, a great relationship, and a happy person, and I'll show you somebody who's a really good problem solver. It just is what it is. Yeah. Because they're the ones that deserve more. And you deserve more because you problem solve. You do not deserve more by bitching, complaining, blaming, and judging. Yes. Yeah. And all of those, like, I'll show you where your limitations are. I'll show you where your blocks are. Pay attention to what you complain about, or ask somebody who spends a lot of time with you what you mostly complain about. And that's where you need to go if you care about living a life on purpose.
Right. I can't believe how fast this is going. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've only got one or two questions left for you. I could just keep going on all these things you're saying. I'm going to jump in. Oh, yeah, that. So let's say, you know, you're working with someone whose ability clearly doesn't match their income, which is probably just about everybody out there. And you know that they're upset, there's an imbalance, they're frustrated, they're feeling like life isn't rewarding them, maybe their employer's not rewarding them. because they keep trying to stay in this situation where they're forcing their expectations into something or someone else.
When you're saying that, all I hear is blame.
Yeah, yeah.
Write this down.
Yep.
Blaming, complaining, judging are all stopping at the limitation.
Right.
All of them. Complaining, blaming, or judging are all, that is a sign you're stopping at the limitation. It's very clear.
Yeah.
If you cannot own the fact that you made a mistake or you're solving it right now, right? That you're responsible for where you're at. Yeah. If you can't own that without saying but and a blame comes, or, you know, judging the fact that your partner doesn't support you or whatever, right? You can figure it out. If you're doing any of those three things, just stop it. I mean, you know me, Summer. I get so annoyed with sabotage because I'm cool with you can cry on my shoulder a couple times, and then I'm going to say, do something about it, because the payoff you're getting right now from me paying attention to you is actually, quite frankly, boring to me. And it's boring to me because I live a big life. Yeah. And I would be rather talking about your vision, your dream, and how to get there, and problem solving that. That's a game. And that's fun to me. And that's fun to you too. But we are so conditioned because we're just, I hate to use the word lazy, but I think people are lazy. And they don't realize that it's harder to live in struggle than it is to do the little bit of work that gets you out of it.
Yeah.
It is harder to live in struggle. And people are so addicted to pain and illness. And I know I'm getting some people who are like, ugh, I hate this girl. But you know what?
No.
For giving you the honest to God truth. I mean, I've had clients come to me that go into body breakdown. Like they get overwhelmed and then they use I'm sick as an excuse to not work. Yeah. Gone now. There's somebody in your mastermind right now. Gone. You know, couple coaching calls ago, she's just finished a live event, but she knocked it out of the park. And she's like, okay, I'm in overwhelmed, but I'm not in body breakdown, which is awesome. So she can see, her awareness allows her to see that she doesn't go back into that. Her questioning to me was so much more empowering, which was about solving the problems, which we solved in about 10 minutes.
Nice.
You know, so you can live that life, which takes a little bit of effort to break away from this, but not a lot.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know, it takes a little bit of effort. Or you can stay there, and honestly, anybody great's not going to want to hang out with you. They're not going to want to date you. They're not going to want to be your friend. They're not going to want to network with you. They're not going to want to do business with you, because people doing great things, or people on their way up to doing great things, have made the decision that they're not going to live like that anymore. Hence, watch them. They're problem solving. We have a motto in my company, and that is, there's never a problem, there's only a solution. It's so ingrained in my company that Jean, our head coach, was telling me, we had a contract issue just recently, and she was telling me the reason why the contract went out wrong. And as she was telling me, she said, why am I telling you this? Because you don't care. I'll solve it by the end of today.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, take care of it. Take care of it. Move on.
It's so ingrained in my company. It's not even that I'm not here to help or what. There is not a problem. It's not. There is a solution out there for it. Yeah. It's just, are you willing to take that solution on now? And some problems take a little bit longer to get yourself up to the starting line. And when I say a little bit longer, maybe a couple days or a couple weeks, but, you know, you'll get there if you're committed to being that way. It shouldn't be a couple months. It should not be a year. It just shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. You're
hurting yourself.
All right, Shanda. I would love to keep going with you. Oh, and because, I mean, you keep reiterating the theme, really, of the whole seminar, which is self-growth equals financial growth. I mean, they really do. They're not separate worlds, because as you grow internally, your external life changes and mimics and mirrors that. So, kudos. You mentioned a little bit about Hardcore Business, and I want to mention it too, so everybody can go. You can see the website there to find out what Shanda does and your amazing programs that you work with people and teach them how to do this, everything you've talked about. Do you have something as well that you wanted to give people? Just kind of a little gifty thing or something? There's a link, right?
I actually don't know. Is that awful?
Oh, no. Well, I know that there is. I know that you have something.
What did I give this? You know what? I actually don't do these very often because of the work you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, really, it's not even because we work together now, but because of the work you do, we slip this in, but we're booked like for the next year out of all of our events. So I don't know what we gave, but I will tell you that I will give this, and then you could share whatever.
Okay.
You know, this is about letting go of control. This is a perfect example of letting. I used to be such a controller that I would have freaked out if I didn't know.
Said, what? What am I giving away? What is this?
Like,
how come I wasn't informed?
It's a perfect example of letting go of control. And I care with everything that I have, and that's why I'm here today. Mm-hmm. But I will say on our website, on Heartcore Business, .com. Yeah, you can actually go there, and there's a little pop-up that pops up that says, let's talk. Yeah. And if you pop in there and say that you saw me on Summer's Summit and you'd like to talk to us about helping you put together a proper business plan that has you monetize your message in a short period of time, then please go ahead and do that. And we'll make sure that myself or Jean or Chris gets on the line with you and we lay out a good plan for you. So I will gift you that. So if you go to heartcorebusiness.com, Let's Talk will pop up. Mm-hmm. Type in, I saw you on Summer's Summit. I'd like you to help me put together a proper business plan to monetize my business. And we're happy to help you with that. And then other than that, I don't know what our marketing team put together for you.
Okay. I think it has something to do with the blog, but we'll find out. Okay. But I highly recommend to everybody, just, go at least talk to Shanda's team. Even if you don't know what your business is, I know a lot of you have that thing you've been mulling around for quite a while and you just want to know what to do with it next, or you have the thing you've been working on already for a year and it's not going where you want it to go. Please talk to Shanda's team. They're wonderful, as is Shanda herself. Like I said, I go to her with all of my business questions. So there you have it. Thanks, Shanda.
Thank you, Summer. What a pleasure. I'm super stoked that you're putting out this really good content yet again, which is something you're good at. But,
Thank you.
It's great that you're putting it out to the world because this conversation needs to be cleaned up for sure.
Totally it does. Not our conversation. The conversation. The money conversation.
That's right.
Yeah, cleaned up everywhere, especially our minds. All right, Shanda, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us for this other episode of Money Intuition.